This is the Sunny SF-B1709 and I bought it on Amazon because I have a problem. Oh no, hopefully it survived. You didn't actually think I was gonna cut my hair, did you? No, actually, I bought it on Amazon because it's very similar to the Keiser M3i. The flywheel mass is listed at just over 7 pounds, which is by far the lightest flywheel I have out of any of these bikes. And it's also very similar to the Keiser M3i flywheel, which from what I can find is an 8-pound flywheel. But the big difference is I bought this bike on Amazon for $569, which was $130 off of the normal price of about $700. On the other hand, the Keiser M3i cost about $2,000. So mostly I'm just curious, how does this SF-B1709 stack up and compare to some of the other bikes I have here that have heavier flywheels? I mean, 7-point some odd change flywheel on a bike? I'm not really sure what to expect, but we're gonna find out. So I literally bought this bike 2 days ago on Amazon and it shipped to my door in 2 days, so that's pretty awesome. And in just a moment, I'm gonna build this bike, which looks like it's gonna be a very easy build process. But before I do that, let's take a first look at the components and let me show you around this bike. I'll give you my very first impressions of each of the components. So the first thing I wanna look at here is the flywheel and the drivetrain. So the flywheel diameter looks to be pretty standard, but the disc shape is very thin and I can tell the flywheel feels very light. However, coming up here to the front, the first thing I can notice about this bike is this gear ratio on the front compared to the gear ratio on the back is just absolutely enormous compared to most of the other bikes I have. So I have a feeling that for these bikes that have a light flywheel on the back, that gearing ratio really makes a huge difference in the way the drivetrain feels. After all, the physics equation for inertia has a lot to do with not just the mass of the flywheel, but also the diameter and how that is distributed, as well as the speed of that flywheel. So it seems to me that bikes like the Keiser M3i and the Sunny 1709 really make up for that lack of mass on the flywheel. And how they do that is probably just by getting this flywheel to rotate faster. The next major different thing about this Sunny 1709 is the resistance knob, which is not a traditional resistance knob. It is a lever very similar to what the Keiser M3i has. So I believe that there is 13 levels of magnetic resistance, and I'm pretty pumped to see what that's like here in just a moment. One thing I would like to point out about this resistance lever is this thing can change resistances quicker than any other bike I have here. And that includes the Peloton Bike Plus, which does adjust resistance very quickly. But if you compare it to this, it's just like instantaneous how quick you can change. Taking a first look at the handlebars, the first thing you might notice about these is they actually have drops. So not only do you get the hand positions up here and like the traditional hand positions, but you also get that drop down, more aggressive riding position if you want it. Second thing you might notice about the handlebars is there are pulse sensors. So you can get your heart rate on this bike without having a heart rate monitor. Now, of course, you do need to have your hands on this riding position in order to get your heart rate, but you do get your heart rate without having to buy a heart rate monitor. And the third thing you might notice about these handlebars is there is a place to put a little screen here, which gives you quite a few metrics right out of the box. The thing that I'm most interested that this display here gives you is RPM, or cadence. So in order to get your cadence, it appears that you're not going to need to buy an external sensor like the Wahoo cadence sensor. And then you also get other stuff like speed and calories and time. And there's some other metrics on the screen which I'll show you in just a moment, but mostly the big thing I'm interested in is the RPMs, or cadence. And real quick, while I'm thinking of it, the max user weight listed for this bike is 300 pounds, which actually is a pretty high user weight compared to a lot of the other budget-friendly bikes I have back here, but not quite as high as like the Nordic Track S22i back there, which has a max user weight of 350 pounds, I believe. A first look at the pedals here, we can see that there are SPD clip-ins that come on the pedal, so that is great. And on the other side of the pedal, there is a cage style pedal. So this bike works great for people who are casual riders as well as people who are ready to take their riding to the next level and clip in. A first look at the seat post here shows us that there are holes you need to click into with 9 levels of adjustment on the seat. The holes are spaced a little bit further apart than I would like to see. However, the seat post material feels nice and sturdy and beefy, just like all the other Sunny bikes I have. This is the portion of the seat that will move forwards and backwards. There's also holes to click into, but this really doesn't matter too much because on the actual seat, you can always slide it along those rails on the bottom of the seat there for micro adjustments. And speaking of seat, this is what the saddle looks like that comes on the 1709. It looks to be the exact same seat that comes on the 1805 that I have back there, except the back, there is a slightly different looking logo back here with like a little silver kind of thing going on. And it is a relatively beefy and thick seat. So for those of you who do not like the narrow seats and the really hard and firm seats, you'll be happy to know that the saddle on this seat is seems pretty wide and comfortable right out of the box. Here's what the handlebar stem looks like. There are 9 levels of adjustment, and there are holes you need to click into that are spaced a little bit kind of far apart. And up here on the top, I'm not entirely sure if these handlebars can slide forwards and backwards or not. It looks like there might possibly be a rail here that you can slide the handlebars forwards and backwards, but I do see some threading there as well. I'm not exactly sure how these are going to connect up, but we'll find out in just a moment. Actually, I think that this part right here is going to be the adjustment knob to move the handlebars forwards and backwards, but we'll find out. And speaking of adjustments, this is what the adjustment knobs look like for the other 3 adjustment points. Not quite as nice to the touch as the knobs on the Peloton Bike Plus, but these do seem just fine. The rear stabilizer bar does have these feet on the bottom that are adjustable. On the stabilizer up here on the front, there are very nice quality rolling wheels, which is very similar to the other Sunny models I have. And they are pretty much right on point, right on par with the Peloton Bike Plus mobility wheels. I don't know why, but I'm always just really impressed to look at the adjustment mobility wheels on these Sunny bikes. It's a pretty minor thing, honestly, because all these bikes roll around just fine. But I just kind of feel like it's a little bit of a indicator of quality of these Sunny bikes. Oh, and of course on the other side here up on the front stabilizer bar, you have your adjustment feet, so this can be adjusted from all 4 corners. Just in case your floors are not flat, like mine aren't flat. Here's what the toolkit looks like. So it looks like it's gonna be a very simple build process considering there's literally just tools in here and 2 bolts. So should be pretty simple. All right, let's build it. On the back side, remove these bolts and take out this. Then you put the feet on the bottom. Put your bolts in and snug them up, and do the exact same thing up here on the front, just like that. I would like to point out a crank arm observation here. These crank arms, there's 2 things about them. On both the left and the right side, it looks like you can easily remove these crank arms and swap them out and put on a different one if you want to. But more importantly, my observation is the length of the crank arm. So going back to what I was saying before about the flywheel being really light and the gear on the front looking like it's really big, it looks like the crank arms are also being taken into account in terms of getting leverage to really get that flywheel cranking and really take advantage of that inertia through speed rather than weight. So measuring from the center of the crank arm to where it plugs in, where it would screw in there, it comes out to exactly 7 inches from center to center. Comparing that exact same measurement over here on the Peloton Bike Plus, going from the center of the crank arm to the center up here where it plugs in. So yeah, center to center there is 6 3/4 inches on the Peloton Bike Plus. So the crank arms on the 1709 are a little bit longer, and that will definitely change the riding dynamic. Anyway, next step is to put the pedals on. Of course, just remember one of the pedals is counter threaded, so just remember that you have to turn one pedal the opposite way to put it on. If you need help with that, I have a link up here, a little card up here to my other video showing you how to put pedals on. The main thing is you put the pedal on and you start turning it finger tight. Don't start using any tools until you are certain that you have the threading aligned properly before you start to use a wrench. And because Sunny does give you that blue Loctite there on the pedal, it does make it a little bit difficult to get that pedal to go on with this little tiny wrench here. So I use my big pedal wrench that has more torque. But the good news is once you do get the pedals on, they are going to be much more likely not to fall off on you because they have that Loctite on the threading. And in addition to that, they have this little nut on the other side of the pedal that you just put that back on the other side of the crank arm once you have the pedal on. Put the seat post in, use one of your knobs, slide this piece in there, grab another knob, then you put the seat on, Oh man, and getting that seat on there is actually pretty difficult. I got out my own wrench again, because the wrench they give you really just doesn't have enough length on it to tighten down those nuts on each side. So if you're going to use the stock wrench that comes in the toolkit, be really careful not to smash your fingers. You know, keep your fingers out of the way when you're tightening down the nuts on this seat, because honestly, this thing, it really takes a lot of force to get it tightened down. The next step here is to thread this wire on through, plug it in. Got a little bit of gunk on it going through the tubing there. I'll set them on max to start. Remove this, get this piece out, and take it apart. Okay, so this part's a little tricky. You take this part, don't use the washer, you put it in here, like that. Then you slide this whole thing on, like that. So it should look like this, and you can slide them kind of forwards and backwards. Take your washer, put it up here, and then this goes on top. Then don't forget to put this little bolt back in here in the front, just in case you forget to tighten this down so the whole thing can't come flying off the front. Looks like it might save your butt if something goes wrong there. Then you put the bottle holder up here using those last two little bolts right down here. Put the display on right here. Connect up the wires, put the batteries in. All right, got the Keiser M3i, Sunny 1709 completely built, and I'm about to do my very first test ride on this bike. I'm pretty pumped up because of the super light flywheel in the back, you know, under 8 pounds. Have not ever rode a bike with a flywheel under 8 pounds, so that'll be interesting. I'm gonna throw on my SPD clip-in shoes because, well, the bike has those pedals, so let's do that. Also, I'm gonna throw on my own heart rate monitor and see how it compares up against these little pulse sensors here. Also, I will have many more videos on the 1709 coming soon. I will be throwing on the Wahoo cadence sensor on this bike and seeing how the cadence on the stock display here compares to the Wahoo cadence sensor, so that video is coming soon. Anyway, let me throw on my SPD shoes and let's get on. All right, there we go. Let's get on the bike. So I have the seat on the maximum height. I have the handlebars on the maximum height. And if you're new to the channel, I'm 6'5", so you know, I'm kind of on the more tall end of the spectrum, and these Sunny bikes tend to do pretty well for tall people. So let's get on this bike and see what it feels like. And this resistance knob right away, very unique, very different from all the other bikes I have here. See how this works out in terms of saddle height. Try and clip in here. All right, clip-ins work. Screen turned on right away. So on the screen here, it gives you a speed, that is the max speed, distance, and time. Tap on the mode, it shows your max cadence, calories, and pulse. Okay, so this is setting my target cadence. Interesting. I don't want to do that. I just want to see what my cadence is. Well, let me just start pedaling and see what happens. All right, so I'm going to crank the resistance down to minimum here. Oh yeah, I can tell that flywheel is light. Seat's too high. So seat's on max height. I'm 6'5", 34 inseam, legs fully extended there. I need to lower the seat. Easy to unclip. So I dropped the saddle height down to 8, which is 1 from the maximum. And take a look at where the handlebars are. I'm pretty actually pumped that these handlebars come up pretty high. I was a little bit worried that this bike was gonna put me in too much of an aggressive riding position due to how when the seat comes up, it goes away from the handlebars, and how when the handlebars come up, they also go away from the seat. So it stretches you out as you get taller. Personally, I don't really prefer an aggressive riding position, but yeah, you can drop those down if you want that. I'm excited to see that the handlebars do come up pretty high on this bike, so it looks like it will be comfortable. Let's find out though. Also, I have the seat here set on 3, and it can come more forward, 2 more full clicks forward, and it can also go back too. So it's kind of middle of the road there. Okay, I think I got myself all situated now. Let's give this thing a very first impressions, initial test ride. So minimum resistance here, comfortable riding position. I am comfortable on this bike and I like the riding position. Look at little Toodles back there. Flywheel, let's feel it out here. Makes a little bit of noise. I mean, it's fine. Definitely feel it's light. Oh, but then when I go to stop pedaling it, it actually... Oh, interesting. So it does actually feel like pretty good inertia on it. Let me add on a little bit of resistance. So here's the resistance knob. I think it said 13 or 14 resistance levels. And you can hear like a click between each one. It's not really exactly clear which one you're on. Not that I'm sure if that matters exactly. But anyway, let's just put it on like, I don't know, 4-ish. You can feel it change for sure. Add on a bit more. Oh yeah, you can really feel it come on. It's pretty heavy resistance already, honestly. Then when you stop pedaling, it's interesting because it kind of just, whoa. It's interesting here because on the lower resistances, when my cadence is up and I stop pedaling, it kind of has like pretty good inertia. Then if I add on resistance and stop pedaling, it doesn't have quite the same inertia at the higher resistances. Oh man, I can feel it burning now. Okay, so up here on the screen, when you stop pedaling, it shows you like your average and stuff. Yeah, there goes the average. And then like as soon as you start pedaling, it shows you your like instantaneous cadence. So that's kind of neat. And like there's a running average on your estimated calories. Let me see what happens if it'll take my pulse with just one hand on the pulse thing. Because I'm holding the camera with one hand. I might have to get off the bike for this to show you this. So I do like the cadence thing. It seems like it responds very quickly. So like I'll stop pedaling. Yeah, and it dropped pretty quickly. So when I start pedaling, it knows I start pedaling right away. Then it seems like it takes a moment to calculate the average. So it's showing like my average cadence right there. And then I'll start pedaling. And then right away pops 0, 81, 85. I feel like it might be reading a little bit high on cadence, honestly. I'm gonna get out the Wahoo cadence sensor and compare it and see what the Wahoo says in comparison. That'll be in my next video. This is kind of just a first impressions, unboxing, building, and yeah, first impressions video of the 1709. Hand grip positions, you know, they're pretty good, honestly. They're not bad at all. Like, they're comfortable. It's not like that same rubberized coating, like the same exact coating as like all these other bikes. This is a little bit different. It's hard to explain exactly how it's different, but there is a little bit different of a feel to it, but it's totally good. Here's the pulse sensors. I'll break out that heart rate monitor here in a moment and check out if those are accurate or whatnot. Then you get these like little drops out here. So, you know, if you want to get in that more like aggressive riding position, like you get out of the saddle, you do lose the heart rate monitor in that case though, the pulse sensor anyway. You can grab there, and then position 3 out here for out of the saddle. And then also you get this ability to easily adjust your handlebars, and they come forward and backwards a decent amount there. So I have them like all the way close to me, and I don't have any problems with them like all the way close and raised up for knee clearance at my tall height of 6'5". So like this bike seems like it's another great option for really tall people, especially if you're tall and you have like upper back problems or neck problems where you prefer to be a little bit more upright. You can definitely achieve that on this bike as a tall person. And obviously, yes, you could still achieve that comfortable position as a short person as well, because the handlebars do come up high and you wouldn't need to have that seat as high. So what is the max resistance? What's the max resistance feel like? Let's just hammer it on down there and see. It's a lot. Like a lot. I kind of feel like it's putting on a physical brake a little bit. Like it's a lot. But the flywheel is only like under 8 pounds, like 7.7 pounds. So like when you stop pedaling, like on high resistance, that inertia it doesn't really kind of carry you through to the next pedal stroke. So first impressions, definitely very interesting. I'm gonna throw on that heart rate monitor right now and see how it compares up to the pulse sensor. And then like I said, my next video, I'm gonna get out the Wahoo cadence sensor and see how that compares to what the cadence says on this screen. All right, got the heart rate monitor on, got the Wahoo app pulled up to check what the pulse says. I'll check these pulse sensors and I'm gonna use the clip-in side, of course, obviously, and just kind of give you my first impressions here on minimum resistance, maximum resistance, to show you just kind of what this bike looks like and feels like to ride. So here I am on minimum resistance, kind of just moving along a little bit. I'm gonna put my hands on the pulse sensor here and see what it gives me. I'm interested. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. Looks like it's reading. So it says 69, and my Wahoo, the skosh here through the Wahoo app, says 104. So yeah, 67, 70, 68. On the Sunny, it's telling me like basically like 68 beats per minute, and the skosh is telling me like 102. So I don't know what the correct pulse is. So now it actually dropped down to 96 on the Wahoo, and it's at 83 on the Sunny. My cadence, it says that it's 100. It feels a little bit high, honestly. Like, okay, so I'm just kind of looking at the metrics. I like the way this flywheel feels at low resistance. I'm on like 0 resistance. Okay, so now the Sunny says my pulse is 88 and the Wahoo says 99. So there's definitely like a gap there, but it seems like it's like evening out. So I really don't know how these things work, but yeah, there's definitely like a 10%, 15% difference there. So yeah, we're at 87, 90 on the Sunny, and still just right around 100 on the skosh. So I'm gonna take one hand off here. Let's see what that does to the pulse. Yeah, it just goes away. So you need both hands for the pulse to work. So that's kind of a bummer, you know. Like an actual heart rate monitor that you connect onto you is kind of like better, because you can put your hands like in any position you want, and then also like apps will track your heart rate, you know, those stats. Like this thing, I don't think can track your stats. So yeah, if you're not pedaling this bike quickly, it's pretty easy to like stop the flywheel. Let's see how fast I can get the cadence up to. 164, 170. That's pretty high. So let me add on a little bit of resistance, like a medium resistance. Honestly, it's a pretty good feeling bike. Like it definitely has a different feel to it with the light flywheel. But the maximum, like the higher end resistance, like this isn't even max resistance. It feels like a good resistance. And the maximum resistance on this bike is actually really high. So it seems like if you put the resistance on this thing all the way, like it'll put on like the physical brake. Like I can hear noise. Man, but that's a really high max resistance on this bike for sure. I'm gonna have to see how this compares to the 1805 and also the Peloton Bike Plus. One click from max, definitely I don't hear any rubbing though. And it's a really high max resistance still. Overall, I think this is a good bike. Yeah, first impressions of the bike, definitely very unique from the rest of these bikes. But I do like it. I like this bike. It feels nice. I like these drop hand grip positions. And the drivetrain feels good, honestly. Feels like a smooth drivetrain. So first impressions of the Sunny 1709. Feels like a pretty good quality bike. Honestly, I like the riding position. It's a very unique feel with the light flywheel. I like that this has the SPD clip-ins that come on the bike. The drop handlebar position. Not really sure on the accuracy of these pulse sensors right now. I'll look more into that with the Scosche and compare it. And also check out that cadence, compare that up in the future. So really it seems like what this bike is trying to be is the Keiser M3i, which is like a $2,000 plus bike. And to me, you know, I don't have any experience on the Keiser M3i, but this Sunny bike does actually feel like a pretty good bike, and it's at a fraction of the cost. You know, I bought this one for $569, and I do have a link below this video to buy this bike if you would like to buy this bike or check out the current pricing and see if it's still on sale. So if you are planning on buying this bike, if you do click that link below this video and place your order through that link, that does help support this channel. Again, you know, I'm not trying to convince you to buy this bike. I'm just saying if you are gonna buy it and you want to support the channel, you can buy it through that link to support the channel. So I will have more videos on the Sunny 1709 coming soon. Overall, first impressions of this bike are pretty solid bike, especially for the price point. If you can get it on sale, I think it's a pretty good deal. I am supposed to be picking up a Keiser M3i later this week. We'll see if that deal comes through for sure or not. I'm really hoping that I can get that so I can compare this bike head to head against the Keiser M3i and also many other bikes here. So this is just my unboxing and first impressions of the Sunny 1709. Give me a thumbs up if this video has been helpful to you. Click that subscribe button and turn on notifications if you want to see my new videos coming out. As always, thanks for watching. Click subscribe and I'll see you in my next video.